So now we're going to talk about another creature which probably is no stranger to you folks up here. I haven't seen one tromping around in the woods, but they certainly exist in this part of Maine. We have a very strong population of black bears in Maine. The scientists believe that the population is growing rapidly. We have a hunting season in Maine. Every year they take somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 bears, but that's below the birth rate. So with the robust health of the bears and the food availability, whether it's human provided or Mother Nature, that population continues to grow, and the interaction between bears and humans grows. Sometimes that's problematic, of course. If they break into your cabin or knock over your garbage cans, you're not going to be too happy about it. Bears are very adept in trees. We think of them as, digging holes in the ground for their winter den, etc. But Mom is very good about putting them up a tree if there's any hint of danger. A friend of mine was in northern Alberta, and he wanted to get some video of bears in an area that was just loaded with them. And the farmers up there were quite happy to accommodate him trespassing on their land. So he went out one afternoon with his video camera, and sure enough, two cubs came in and were rolling and tumbling on the ground, and then they ran up the tree he was in, which is not so good because where there's cubs, there's generally going to be a sow. And sure enough, she came out. She knew something was up, so she started climbing the steps of the ladder where he was sitting, about 15 feet in the air. He had no weapon, and obviously wasn't trying to injure the bear, but she wanted to know who was up there with her cubs. So when she got up to the level of his feet, he just reached out one of his feet and touched her paw. Not hard enough to hurt her, but to let her know somebody was there, and he was speaking in a low tone to her. Finally, she decided this was not a good plan and gave a wild woof, and the cubs rocketed down the tree. She went off and left him quivering in his seat on the tree. That was a little more exciting than he wanted for his video. They are opportunistic omnivores. We think of them as carnivores, but they literally will eat almost anything. When they come out of their winter dens in the spring, they eat grass. As soon as they can find green grass, that's how they kickstart their digestive systems. It's been dormant for months. They haven't eaten since September or October, whenever they went into the den. And so things are pretty well plugged up, but a good feed of grass and fresh greens will help keep things moving. Once they're moving, they'll start on any carrion that they can find, dead deer, dead elk, anything of that sort, to give them some immediate calories and protein, of course, to try to rebuild. They've lost 30 to 40% of their body weight during those months, particularly a female that has cubs that have been nursing since January or February when they're born. So she really needs calories at that point. They raise heck with fawns. They're known to take anywhere up to 30 or 40% of the deer fawns in Maine. They're smart enough to find fawns, even though the fawns don't have much scent. They know where the deer tend to drop their fawns. Out west, in places where the elk are concentrated, they lose as many as 95% of the elk calves to grizzly bears and black bears in a hard year. So that's a serious impact. Beyond that, they'll eat just about anything. And I put the picture of the grill there because sometimes we're our own worst enemies. We leave food sources around in our yards, and that's problematic. I'll never forget a couple of years ago, well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a panic call from my daughter one day. She was staying at our son's house in New Hampshire for a few days, working from home. And she said, "Dad, there's a bear on the deck." My son had left his bird feeder up. And that bear, of course, found this wonderful food source, smashed the the bird feeder, ate all the seeds, and then laid down for a while in the landscaping. Laura was terrified the bear was going to try to break in the house. Fortunately, it was a small one and he wasn't aggressive. He waddles off, things calm down. I get another phone call about an hour. The bear came back and was sitting on, or laying down on one of the chaise lounges on my son's deck. So the bear obviously thought he'd found a wonderful place to spend some time. That was a little too close for comfort.